Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to peel back the layers of our modern lifestyle to reveal the invisible threats hiding right in plain sight in both our physical and digital worlds. We live in this era of absolutely unprecedented convenience. With a quick click, a swipe, or a short drive, we have access to literally almost anything. But what are the hidden trade-offs? Today, we're going to uncover the silent prices we pay for this incredibly frictionless existence.
Here's exactly what we're getting into today. We'll be looking at running out of sand, the forever chemical crisis, dark patterns in shopping, AI slop and content collapse, and finally, the rise of digital dementia. Let's just dive right in. Section 1. Running out of sand. We're starting right at the physical building blocks of our modern infrastructure, because frankly, the world is currently facing a massive, silent crisis. Think about this for a second. A staggering 40 to 50 billion tons of sand and gravel are consumed every single year, primarily by the construction sector. Concrete is the world's most consumed manufactured material, and natural sand makes up about 35% of its entire volume. Now, you might be thinking, hold on, our planet is completely covered in massive deserts. How is this a problem? Well, here's the catch. Desert sand has a rounded shape and a uniform grain size because of wind erosion, which makes it completely useless for binding with cement. This means we are dangerously depleting our riverbeds and our coastlines just to get the angular sand we actually need. So, what does this all mean? Our current extraction rates exceed natural replenishment by a massive factor of 8 to 12 times. Geologists actually call this tipping point peak sand, and the real-world consequences here are severe. Riverbed mining lowers water tables and dramatically increases flooding. In places like India, this scarcity has even led to the rise of actual criminal syndicates known as sand mafias, resulting in hundreds of documented socioeconomic conflicts. We are, quite literally, mining away the ground beneath our feet. Moving right along to Section 2, the forever chemical crisis. Zooming in slightly from our global infrastructure down to the biological level, let's talk about the invisible chemicals we interact with every single day. We are talking about PFAS, which is a group of over 10,000 synthetic chemicals. And there is a real dark paradox here. The very properties that make PFAS chemicals so incredibly great at repelling water and grease are the exact same reasons their carbon-fluorine bonds never break down in nature. We engineered them for pure convenience starting way back in the 1950s, but in doing so, we inadvertently created forever chemicals. You might not even realize it, but these persistent chemicals leach right into our water systems through super common household goods. We're talking cosmetics, nonstick cookware, outdoor clothing, fast food packaging, and firefighting foams. Every single time you wash that treated outdoor jacket, or use certain cosmetics, or even throw away a greasy fast food wrapper, these chemicals can enter the environment and eventually our drinking water. And current research links these forever chemicals to a whole host of severe health concerns. They're talking harmful impacts on fetal development, changes in liver enzymes, disrupted thyroid function, and even lowered antibody responses to vaccines. So the convenience of wiping down a nonstick pan, it carries a very real, long-term biological cost. All right, Section 3, dark patterns in shopping. Let's totally shift gears and transition from our physical environment over to the digital spaces we inhabit every day, starting with how our psychology is actively manipulated when we shop online. Have you ever bought something completely by accident or spent way too long struggling to cancel a simple subscription? If you answered yes, you are absolutely not alone. You've likely encountered what are called dark patterns. These are basically deceptive user interfaces designed to subtly steer your choices, prioritizing commercial goals way over your own autonomy. In fact, research shows that 10% of major online retailers implement these tactics. And get this, they appear in 95% of free trending apps. When we actually break down these tactics, the financial toll is honestly shocking. Look at hidden costs. Consumer Reports estimate that these unexpected, last-minute checkout charges cost the average family of four over $3,200 annually. Then there's forced continuity, which is often designed as a roach motel. They make it incredibly easy to create an account or start a free trial, but deliberately complex to cancel, sometimes even making you sit through multiple phone calls just to leave. And these designs aren't accidental. They exploit human cognitive biases, like the fear of missing out with those fake countdown timers, or default bias with pre-ticked boxes. It's a highly calculated psychological extraction of your money and your data. Section 4, AI slop and content collapse. Let's dive into how our digital information environment is rapidly becoming polluted. Get a load of this. It is currently estimated that a staggering 52% of all online content is now AI generated.
A recent analysis of newly published English language web pages found that over 74% contained AI-generated content. Why is this happening? Because it's purely a numbers game. Content farms are just flooding the internet with synthetic sludge, what researchers playfully but accurately call AI slop, and it's designed purely to game search algorithms and earn programmatic ad revenue. But this creates a dangerous digital Ouroboros, like a snake eating its own tail. As the internet completely fills up with AI slop, new AI models are inevitably trained on that very same synthetic data. This leads to what researchers call model collapse. Basically, each generation of AI content becomes a copy of a copy. It gets progressively more generic, way less accurate, and entirely less useful. The very foundation of our search engines and discovery systems is actively degrading because they simply cannot reliably filter out this massive scale of machine-made noise. The internet becomes a hall of mirrors, where real expertise is outnumbered by simulations of simulations. I think this quote just perfectly summarizes the resulting confidence crisis we're facing. When we search for answers today, we are so often met with a highly polished, very authoritative-sounding AI response. But a recent study by the Columbia Journalism Review found that major AI chatbots actually provided inaccurate or misleading answers over 60% of the time. And they almost always expressed complete, unshakable confidence while doing it. The illusion of precision is totally masking the instability of our digital knowledge base. Which brings us to Section 5, the rise of digital dementia. Finally, let's look inward at the micro level to see how all this digital exposure is fundamentally altering our actual physical brains. This brings us to a frankly terrifying concept called digital dementia. Coined by neuroscientist Manfred Spitzer, it describes how outsourcing our memory to search engines and smart devices literally causes cognitive decline. When we constantly rely on the Google effect, which is remembering where to find information rather than the information itself, we actually stop exercising our memory. While digital device use highly stimulates the left side of the brain, the right side, which is entirely related to concentration, remains totally unused. Chronic sensory overstimulation from these screens can literally cause synaptic pathways to deteriorate, mimicking the early signs of dementia even in young adults. Okay, but we aren't completely helpless here. The research also provides actionable strategies to protect our cognitive health. First off, taking a digital detox gives the brain some much-needed rest. Controlling screen time is absolutely crucial, especially for children, where the American Academy of Pediatrics strongly recommends 2 hours or less per day. Furthermore, regular physical activity can actively offset these negative effects. And staying away from blue light right before bed protects the melatonin production that is so vital for restorative sleep. So, we've explored everything today, from the physical depletion of our Earth's sand to the forever chemicals hanging around in our bodies, the subtle manipulation of our digital choices, the total collapse of our information ecosystem, and the cognitive toll of screen addiction. And it all leaves us with one extremely critical question to ponder. Is the perceived speed and convenience of our modern life actually worth this hidden price we're paying? Understanding these unseen costs is just the first step to navigating our world a bit more deliberately. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to look just a little closer at the conveniences you use today. Welcome.